Ever feel like, all your hard work on your research is kind of just like going into a black hole? You
Uh-huh.
put your heart and soul into it, but it's like no one's really seeing it, let alone using it to make a real difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And that's something a lot of academics struggle with. And the truth is, there's like this whole hidden world of impact just waiting to be unlocked.
And that is exactly what we're diving into today. How to break free from that black hole and maximize your academic impact in like this digital age. And, it's not just about citations anymore.
Right.
We've got a stack of research from MIT, Stanford, Yale, MSU, and they all point to a new reality.
Yeah.
Your digital presence can seriously make or break your research's reach and influence.
Absolutely. What's fascinating is that just a huge amount of research that could be groundbreaking goes completely unnoticed simply because it's not visible in the right places. We're talking like 85% of people who could actually benefit from your work never even finding it.
It's like having the cure for something but keeping it locked away in a lab.
Exactly.
But there's good news. Research from Stanford suggests that building a strong digital footprint can boost your research impact by up to 40%. And you don't even have to publish more to do that.
That's right. It's not about churning out more papers. It's about strategically using the digital landscape to amplify the work you've already done. Think of it like building a networked scholarly identity. It's like a constellation of profiles across all these different platforms that all work together to showcase your expertise and attract the right audience.
So instead of just having a profile on ResearchGate, I need to
Yeah.
think about how that connects to what I'm doing on Twitter, academia.edu, and maybe even a personal blog.
Exactly. It's about creating a coherent and compelling narrative that resonates across all those different platforms, each piece reinforcing the others. And the results spoke for themselves. Yale's Digital Humanities Lab found that academics who strategically connect their online profiles see over 3 times more visibility for their research.
Wow, that's a game changer. It reminds me of Dr. Sarah Chen, the quantum computing researcher. She was publishing in top journals, but her work wasn't getting the attention it deserved. Then she implemented these strategies, and boom! Within 6 months, she had researchers from MIT and Stanford citing her work, and even major tech companies reaching out for collaborations.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of how a strong digital presence can open doors you didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
And the key is to think beyond just listing your credentials. It's about telling your research story in a way that captivates your audience.
This is all incredibly exciting, but let's be honest. Building a digital presence from scratch can feel overwhelming, especially with all the demands on an academic's time.
Right.
So where do we even begin?
Well, that's where our new series, Academic Digital Mastery, comes in. It's launching next week on guyobserve.online. And this series is designed to give you a step-by-step roadmap to mastering your digital presence. You'll learn practical strategies for crafting a compelling online narrative, building a network that amplifies your impact, and using AI tools to work smarter, not harder.
So think of academic digital mastery as your personal guide to navigating this new world of academic impact. It's packed with proven methods from top institutions like the ones we're discussing today, all tailored to help you achieve your research goals. But before you dive into this series, let's unpack another key element in this digital revolution. AI. I know a lot of academics hear AI and think, oh no, is it going to replace me?
Yeah, that's a common misconception, and I totally understand the concern, but the reality is AI is a really powerful tool that can actually enhance your authentic voice, not replace it. Think of it as a research assistant helping you fine-tune your message for maximum impact.
Okay, so how does that work in practice? What can AI actually do for me?
Well, for starters, AI can analyze just vast amounts of data to identify trending topics in your field and suggest relevant keywords to include in your research descriptions. This means your work is more likely to show up in searches when people are looking for information on those topics.
So AI can help me speak the language my audience is searching for, ensuring my research is discoverable by the people who need it most. That's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Exactly. AI can also help you optimize your research summaries for different audiences, making them more engaging and accessible. Imagine having AI suggest ways to rephrase a complex concept so that it's easily understood by policymakers or the general public.
It's like having a translator who can bridge the gap between the ivory tower and the real world, making my research relevant and impactful beyond academia.
That's precisely the idea, and the results are impressive. Stanford's AI research tools have found that academics who use AI effectively for content optimization see a 40% increase in profile views. That's a significant boost in visibility, leading to more engagement, more collaborations, and ultimately more impact.
Okay, so AI can help me connect with a wider audience and make my research more understandable. But I'm still a bit wary of letting a machine do the talking for me. How do I ensure that my own voice and expertise shine through?
Yeah. That's where the human-in-the-loop approach comes in. You're always in control, guiding the AI, providing the insights and expertise, and ensuring that the final product reflects your unique perspective. AI is a tool for amplification, not replacement. It's about working smarter, not harder.
I like that. Working smarter, not harder. That sounds like a principle we could all apply to our academic lives. But how do we actually implement this in practice? Where do we even begin?
That's where academic digital mastery comes in again. We'll go deeper into specific AI tools and techniques, showing you how to use them ethically and effectively to maximize your impact. You'll learn how to find the right tools for your needs, how to train them to understand your research, and how to integrate them seamlessly into your workflow.
This is starting to feel like we're building a whole new toolkit for academic success, one that's powered by both human ingenuity and the latest technology. But I have to admit, I'm still a bit skeptical about this whole content optimization thing. It sounds a bit like marketing, and I'm not sure that's something academics should be doing.
I understand your hesitation. But let's be clear. We're not talking about hype or spin. We're talking about presenting your research in a way that's clear, engaging, and accessible to the people who need it most. It's about making sure your work gets the attention it deserves so it can have the impact it deserves.
That makes sense. It's not about self-promotion. It's about maximizing the positive impact our research can have on the world.
Exactly. And that's what academic digital mastery is all about, equipping you with the knowledge and skills you need to make a real difference in this digital age. We'll dive into the ethical considerations, the best practices, and the real-world examples that will empower you to navigate this landscape with confidence.
I'm starting to see how this all fits together. It's not just about building a fancy online profile or using the latest AI tools. It's about using those tools strategically to amplify your own unique expertise and make a real contribution to your field.
You got it. And remember, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. What works for one researcher might not work for another. That's why academic digital mastery focuses on giving you the foundational knowledge and practical skills you need to adapt these strategies to your own unique research goals and personal style.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork for understanding the importance of digital presence and the potential of AI. But let's move beyond just profiles and tools and talk about how we actually share our research in a way that grabs attention and sparks meaningful engagement. What's the secret sauce?
That's where the magic of what Yale researchers call a content cascade comes in. It's about transforming a single research paper into a multi-platform conversation, creating a ripple effect of impact across different audiences.
A content cascade. That sounds intriguing. So it's not just about posting a link to our paper on Twitter and hoping for the best.
Exactly. A content cascade is about strategically disseminating your research across different platforms, tailoring the message to each audience, and creating a chain reaction of engagement that ultimately leads back to your original research.
Okay, so let's say I've just published a paper on the impact of climate change on migratory birds. What would my content cascade look like?
Great example. Instead of just tweeting a link to the paper, you could start by posing a thought-provoking question on social media. Something like, have you noticed changes in bird migration patterns in your area? My latest research explores the impact of climate change on these feathered travelers.
That's much more engaging than just a dry link to a journal article. It sparks curiosity and invites people into the conversation.
Exactly. Then you could share a key finding from your research, maybe with a striking visual, like a map showing shifting migration routes. This piques people's interest and draws them deeper into your work.
Right, and I could even create a short video summarizing the main points of my research in an accessible way, making it easy for people to grasp the key takeaways even if they don't have time to read the full paper.
You're getting it. You could then write a blog post diving deeper into the practical implications of your findings, maybe offering solutions for conservation efforts or policy changes.
And I could connect my research to current events like a recent hurricane that disrupted bird migration patterns, making my work feel relevant and timely.
Excellent. You could even reach out to journalists who cover environmental issues and offer them exclusive insights from your research, increasing the chances of your work being featured in mainstream media.
Wow, this is so much more dynamic than the way I've been sharing my research in the past. It's about creating a multifaceted story that unfolds across different platforms, each piece building on the last and drawing a wider audience into the conversation.
You've got it. And the results are compelling. Yale researchers have found that this type of digital content cascade can make your work get shared 4.5 times more often than traditional paper-only publications. That means more visibility, more engagement, and ultimately more impact.
4.5 times more engagement. That's incredible. But I have to ask, this all sounds like a lot of work. How do we fit this kind of strategic content creation and sharing into our already overflowing schedules?
That's where those time-saving tips and tools we'll cover in Academic Digital Mastery come in. We'll show you how to streamline your content creation process, leverage AI to automate tasks, and build a sustainable system for managing your online presence without feeling overwhelmed.
So it's not about adding more to our to-do list. It's about working smarter and maximizing our impact with the time we have.
Exactly. It's about making sure your valuable research reaches the people who need to hear it so it can make a real difference in the world.
Okay, I'm convinced this whole content cascade thing is a game changer. But how do we know if all this effort is actually working? How do we measure the impact of our digital presence beyond just counting downloads or citations?
That's a great question, and it brings us to what we call the impact dashboard.
An impact dashboard, what's that?
It's a way of moving beyond those traditional metrics and measuring the true reach and influence of your research. It's about recognizing that real-world impact can take many forms, from influencing policy decisions to inspiring new technologies to changing public perceptions.
So it's about looking beyond just who is citing my work in academia and seeing how my research is being used to make a difference in the wider world.
Precisely. Think about being invited to speak at an international conference based on your online presence, or having your research cited in a policy document, or even seeing your work discussed in a popular science magazine. These are all signs of influence that traditional metrics might miss.
And speaking of missing the mark, research from MIT suggests that traditional metrics only capture about 30% of your actual impact. What about the other 70%? What does that look like?
It's about those ripple effects we've been talking about. Think about mentions of your work in policy documents, invitations to speak at industry events, or even being featured in popular media.
Mhm.
These are all indicators that your research is making waves beyond academia.
So it's about tracking not just who is citing your work, but how they're using it to make a difference in the world.
Exactly. And that's where the impact dashboard comes in. It helps you track these diverse forms of impact, giving you a more holistic picture of your research's reach and influence.
Okay, so it's not just about vanity metrics like downloads or citations. It's about understanding the real-world impact our research is having and using that information to further amplify our work and maximize its reach.
You've got it. And in Academic Digital Mastery, we'll delve deeper into the impact dashboard, showing you how to track the metrics that matter most, how to use data to tell your impact story, and how to leverage your online presence to create lasting change.
This is all incredibly insightful. It's clear that maximizing academic impact in today's world requires a new way of thinking, a new set of tools, and a willingness to embrace the power of the digital landscape.
You're absolutely right. And remember, it's not just about advancing your own career. It's about making a real difference in the world. It's about ensuring that your research reaches the people who need it most, that it sparks new ideas, that it inspires action, and that it ultimately contributes to a better future for all of us.
That's a mission I can definitely get behind. But before we get too carried away with changing the world, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned so far. We've covered the importance of building a strong digital presence, the potential of AI to amplify our impact, and the power of strategically sharing our research through content cascades.
And we've touched on the importance of measuring our impact beyond traditional metrics and building a system that sustains and amplifies our influence over time.
So what's the next step on this journey to maximizing our academic impact?
Well, stay tuned for part 2 of this deep dive, where we'll delve into the art of strategic networking, exploring how to build relationships that amplify your reach, open doors to new opportunities, and accelerate your research impact.
I can't wait to unpack that with you. But for now, I have a challenge for our listener. Pick one thing you've learned today and take action this week.
Maybe it's updating your ResearchGate profile, experimenting with an AI keyword tool, or brainstorming your first content cascade.
Remember, small steps lead to big results, and every action you take brings you closer to achieving your full potential as a researcher and making a lasting impact on the world.
And don't forget to check out Academic Digital Mastery on guyobserve.online for a comprehensive guide to mastering these strategies and more. It's launching next week, and we can't wait to share it with you.
Until then, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the digital age of academia.
We'll see you back here soon for part 2 of our deep dive.
Welcome back. Last time we talked all about building your digital presence and using AI to really boost your research impact. And today, we're tackling a topic that can feel a little daunting. But trust me, it's essential networking.
And we're not talking about like awkward conference small talk,
Right.
We're talking about strategically building those relationships that can amplify your research, open doors to some really exciting collaborations, and accelerate your impact in the world.
Okay. That sounds a lot more appealing than the image I had in my head. But how do we go about networking strategically? Like, where do we even start?
Well, think about it this way. You've already got this incredible network of potential collaborators and supporters out there, researchers in your field, experts in related disciplines, policymakers, even people in the general public who are passionate about your area of expertise.
I never really thought about it that way. It's easy to feel kind of isolated in academia, but you're right. There's a whole world of people out there who could be interested in my work.
Hmm.
But how do I find them? And more importantly, how do I connect with them in a way that's, meaningful and mutually beneficial?
That's where strategic networking comes in. It's about moving beyond those random connections and really identifying those key individuals and institutions whose work aligns with yours. Those who can truly amplify your research's impact. MIT's Digital Experience Lab calls this strategic connection mapping.
So it's kind of about quality over quantity. Not just collecting as many business cards as possible, but actually building relationships with people who can make a real difference.
Exactly. MIT research has actually found that building strategic connections with just 20% of your field's key players can lead to 80% of your potential impact. It's about finding those pressure points that can really create a ripple effect throughout your entire field.
That's a powerful image. So it's like finding those key influencers who can help spread your message far and wide. But how do we actually identify those pressure points, those high-impact individuals and institutions?
That's where those AI tools we talked about earlier can really come back into play. Remember how AI can analyze vast amounts of data and identify patterns? Well, it can do the same thing for networking. AI can analyze research publications, social media activity, conference attendance, a whole range of other data points to identify those individuals and institutions who are most active and influential in your field.
So AI can kind of act as a sort of matchmaker, helping us find our research soulmates.
Exactly. And it's not just about finding people who are working on similar topics. It's about identifying those whose methodologies complement yours, those who can bring a fresh perspective, or those who are working on applications of your research in different fields.
This is making me realize that networking isn't just about attending conferences and, hoping to bump into the right people. It's about having a proactive strategy, using the tools available to us to identify those key connections, and then reaching out in a way that's genuine and mutually beneficial.
You got it. Remember Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, the molecular biologist we mentioned earlier?
Yeah?
He had spent years on groundbreaking research that went largely unnoticed until he embraced strategic network amplification.
Right. His work on protein folding analysis. He ended up with collaborations spanning 3 continents. What was his secret?
He stopped thinking of networking as a chore and started seeing it as an opportunity for growth and collaboration. Using AI-powered tools, he identified key researchers and institutions working on complementary aspects of protein folding and reached out with genuine interest in their work. He didn't just send a generic email blasting out his latest paper. He took the time to personalize each message, highlighting the specific aspects of their work that he found interesting and suggesting potential areas of collaboration.
So it's not just about broadcasting your own work. It's about engaging with others and showing a genuine interest in their research.
Exactly. Remember, networking is a two-way street. The more you give, the more you'll receive. By sharing your insights, offering to collaborate, and simply being a supportive member of your research community, you'll build lasting connections that will benefit you throughout your career.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to networking. It's not about collecting business cards at conferences. It's about building meaningful relationships that advance knowledge and make a real difference.
I'm glad to hear that. And here's another powerful tool you can use to enhance your network. What Yale's Digital Humanities Lab calls content resonance optimization.
Wait, wasn't that about transforming our research content for different audiences? What does that have to do with networking?
It's all connected. Remember how we talked about tailoring your message to different audiences? Well, the same principle applies to networking. You need to speak the language of the people you're trying to connect with. Think about it this way. If you're reaching out to a policymaker, you wouldn't use the same jargon-filled language you'd use in a journal article, right? You'd frame your research in a way that highlights its relevance to policy decisions.
So it's about tapping into those conversations that are already happening within our field and making our research relevant to those discussions. I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Exactly. MSU's Digital Scholarship Lab actually discovered that when academics align their research communications with trending topics in their field, their work gets shared 4.2 times more frequently. That means more visibility, more engagement, and ultimately more opportunities for collaboration.
So how do we do that in the academic world? How do we find those conversations and contribute in a meaningful way? Where do we even start?
It's easier than you think. Start by following key influencers and thought leaders in your field on social media and pay attention to the topics they're discussing. Join relevant online forums and groups where researchers are sharing their insights and challenges. Look for opportunities to contribute your expertise in a way that's helpful and engaging.
So it's not about self-promotion. It's about being a valuable member of the community and sharing your knowledge in a way that's genuinely helpful.
You got it. And when you do that, people will start to see you as a go-to expert, someone they want to connect with and collaborate with. They'll see you as someone who's not just talking about their own research, but who's actively engaged in the broader conversation and who's genuinely interested in advancing the field as a whole.
This is making networking sound a lot less intimidating. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being a thoughtful and engaged contributor.
Exactly. Now let's talk about something that can really turbocharge your networking efforts. What Yale's Digital Humanities Lab calls network amplification loops.
Network amplification loops. That sounds intriguing. What are those all about?
Think of it like this. You've got your brilliant research, you've built your strategic network, and you're creating content that resonates with your audience. Now it's time to create a system that automatically amplifies your reach and impact.
So it's about taking all those individual elements and weaving them together into a powerful force multiplier, like a research snowball that just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
I like that analogy. A network amplification loop is a strategically designed system that ensures your work reaches more of the right people, generating more engagement, more collaborations, and ultimately more impact. Yale studies have actually shown that when researchers strategically share their work through these cascading network effects, their research reaches 5.3 times more relevant academics than through traditional sharing methods.
5.3 times more researchers. That's incredible. Okay, I'm hooked. How do we create these magical loops? What's the secret formula?
There's no secret formula, but there are some key principles that can help you design a system that works for you. It starts with understanding that sharing your work is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process that requires careful planning and strategic execution.
So instead of just posting a link to my paper once and calling it a day,
Yeah.
I need a more dynamic strategy. What would that look like in practice?
Think of it like planting a seed. You wouldn't just throw a seed on the ground and expect it to grow into a mighty oak, would you? You'd carefully nurture it, provide it with the right nutrients, and protect it from the elements.
Okay, I see the analogy. So how do we nurture our research content to ensure it reaches its full potential? Can you give us a concrete example?
Remember Dr. Maria Santos, the AI researcher who implemented this approach with her work on neural network optimization?
Huh?
She took what could have been a one-time publication and turned it into a multi-week campaign of strategic sharing.
Right. She started by sharing her core findings with her immediate network, then released a detailed methodology breakdown, then published practical applications for industry, and finally, she connected her findings to broader trends in the field.
Exactly. And each step in this amplification sequence built on the previous one, creating what Stanford researchers call compound interest in academic visibility. She started by engaging her existing network, then expanded her reach to new audiences, and then brought it all back to the bigger picture, demonstrating the significance of her work within the broader context of the field.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So it's not about creating more content. It's about strategically amplifying the content we already have.
Precisely. It's about thinking like a gardener, carefully cultivating your research's growth and maximizing its impact over time. And just like a gardener, you need to be patient and persistent. Building a network and cultivating a reputation takes time and effort, but the rewards are well worth it.
Okay, so we've got our content cascade, we've got our amplification loops, our networks are buzzing with activity. But something's been kind of bugging me. We've been talking a lot about using AI to optimize our online presence and our networking strategies, but wouldn't that make everything feel kind of artificial, like we're losing our authentic voice? Is it even possible to use AI without turning into a research robot?
That's a really valid concern, and it brings us to what's perhaps the most exciting aspect of using AI in academia, what's called collaborative AI enhancement. It's not about letting AI take over. It's about using AI to empower human connection and collaboration.
Collaborative AI enhancement. Tell me more.
Yeah.
How does that work? How can AI actually enhance human connection?
Imagine this. You're working on a complex research project, and you're struggling to find the right collaborators, those with the specific expertise you need to really move forward. AI can step in and analyze vast networks of researchers, identifying those whose skills and interests perfectly complement yours. It can connect you with people you might never have found on your own, people who could bring valuable insights and expertise to your work.
So AI can help us build like dream teams of researchers, like assembling the Avengers of academia.
I love that analogy. It's about leveraging AI's ability to connect the dots in a way that humans simply can't.
So it's not about replacing human interaction, but rather about facilitating those connections that might have otherwise gone unnoticed. It's like having an AI matchmaker who can introduce you to your perfect research partners.
Precisely. And it goes beyond just finding collaborators. Stanford's research suggests that research teams using AI-enhanced collaboration tools are completing projects 35% faster. Not only that their papers are getting cited 2.3 times more often, it's about using AI to unlock new levels of efficiency and effectiveness in the research process itself.
Wow, that's incredible. It sounds like AI can really be a game changer for collaboration. But how do we actually implement this? Are we talking about fancy software or robots in the lab?
It's not about robots, at least not yet. It's about using intelligent tools that are becoming increasingly accessible to researchers. Some platforms are designed specifically for finding collaborators based on shared research interests and expertise. Others help streamline communication and project management within research teams, ensuring everyone is on the same page and working towards a common goal.
So it's about integrating AI seamlessly into our existing workflows to enhance communication, collaboration, and ultimately our research outcomes. It's about making our lives easier, not more complicated.
Exactly. And remember, the key to success with any AI tool is to use it intentionally and strategically. Think carefully about your goals for collaboration, the specific expertise you need, and how AI can help you achieve those goals.
Okay, so we've talked about building our network, creating engaging content, amplifying our reach, and collaborating strategically. It's starting to feel like we're building a powerful research machine. But how do we know if all these efforts are actually making a difference? How do we measure real-world impact in a way that goes beyond those traditional metrics?
That's a crucial question, and it brings us to what MSU's Digital Scholarship Lab calls impact acceleration. It's about recognizing that academic impact is multifaceted and extends far beyond the confines of academia.
So it's not just about publishing in prestigious journals and racking up citations. What else is there? How do we even begin to measure impact beyond those traditional metrics?
It's about understanding the diverse ways your research can influence policy practice and public understanding. Remember those impact vectors we discussed earlier?
Yeah.
Academic impact is just one piece of the puzzle. We also have practical impact, policy impact, public impact, and even industry impact.
Right. So a researcher studying, let's say, the effects of social media on mental health could have an impact not just within academia, but also in areas like mental health policy, social media platform design, and even public awareness campaigns.
You got it. And what's exciting is that these impact vectors don't just operate independently. They create what Stanford researchers call impact resonance, where each vector amplifies the others, leading to a ripple effect of positive change.
Okay, so impact isn't just a linear path. It's a multidimensional web of influence. It's like throwing a pebble into a pond and watching the ripples spread outwards.
Exactly. And to effectively measure this multidimensional impact, we need to go beyond those traditional metrics like citations and H-index. We need what we call impact analytics that capture the full breadth of your research's influence.
So what does an effective impact analytics system look like? Are we talking about complex software dashboards and data analysis? It sounds a bit intimidating.
It doesn't have to be complicated. The key is to be strategic and focus on those metrics that truly align with your goals for impact. Start by identifying the specific ways you want your research to make a difference in the world. Then think about what data points can help you track your progress towards those goals.
So my research is focused on developing sustainable agricultural practices. I might track things like the number of farmers adopting those practices, the impact on crop yields, and the reduction in environmental impact.
Exactly. It's about choosing metrics that are meaningful and actionable, those that can help you understand how your research is creating real change. And remember, those AI tools we talked about earlier can help you automate this process, making it easier to track your impact over time without having to manually sift through mountains of data.
This is making me realize that impact isn't just something that happens passively. It's something we can actively cultivate and measure. It's about being intentional and strategic in how we share our research and engage with the world.
You've got it. And that brings us to what's perhaps the most crucial element of maximizing your research impact: sustainability.
Sustainability, in terms of academic impact. What does that even mean? How can impact be sustainable?
It's about creating a system that ensures your research continues to have an impact long after you've moved on to new projects, perhaps even after you've retired. It's about building what MSU calls a sustainable impact architecture.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but honestly, it sounds a bit daunting. How do we build a system that's going to outlast our own academic careers? Do we need to build a research empire?
It's not about building an empire that requires constant upkeep. It's about designing systems that are self-sustaining, that continue to generate impact even when you're not actively managing them.
So what are the building blocks of this self-sustaining system? How do we create something that can run on autopilot, so to speak?
Remember how we talked about creating content cascades and network amplification loops? Those are key components. By creating content that's adaptable and evergreen content that continues to be relevant and valuable over time, and by establishing systems that automatically share and promote that content, you're building a foundation that can last for years. It's like creating a research time capsule that continues to share your insights and discoveries with the world, even when you're not actively involved.
I see. So it's about front-loading the effort, creating systems that work for us, even when we're not actively working on them.
Precisely. And it goes beyond just content and networks. It's about building relationships with other researchers, practitioners, and policymakers who can carry your work forward. It's about mentoring younger scholars who can build upon your discoveries. It's about creating a legacy of knowledge and impact that extends far beyond your own career.
So it's about recognizing that our research is part of a larger ecosystem, and our impact extends far beyond our individual contributions. It's about playing the long game and contributing to something much bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. Building a sustainable impact architecture is about planting seeds that will continue to grow and flourish long after you've moved on. It's about contributing to a legacy of knowledge that will benefit generations to come. It's about making a difference that lasts.
This is making me think about academic impact in a whole new light. It's not just about individual achievement, it's about contributing to something much larger than ourselves.
I'm so glad to hear that. And let me share another exciting element of sustainable impact, what Stanford researchers call self-reinforcing impact systems.
Self-reinforcing impact systems. Now that sounds powerful. Tell me more.
Remember Dr. Rodriguez, whose protein folding research we discussed earlier? He didn't just experience a one-time surge in visibility and citations. His impact continued to grow over time because he built a system that essentially worked on autopilot, generating new connections, collaborations, and applications, even when he was focused on new research.
Okay, now that's what I call working smarter, not harder. How do we create these self-reinforcing systems? What's the secret sauce?
The secret sauce is a blend of strategic planning automation and a deep understanding of how impact unfolds over time. It starts with establishing a solid foundation, a clear research narrative, well-defined impact goals, and a robust system for tracking your progress. Then it's about leveraging AI tools to automate those repetitive tasks, like content sharing, network expansion, and impact measurement.
So AI is not just our research assistant, it's also our impact manager working tirelessly behind the scenes to maximize our influence.
Exactly. And the beauty of this self-reinforcing system is that as your impact grows, it attracts more attention, more collaborations, and more opportunities, creating a virtuous cycle of influence. It's like planting a tree that not only grows tall and strong, but also produces seeds that spread and create a whole forest of impact.
I love that analogy. It's a beautiful vision of how our research can have a lasting and ever-expanding impact on the world. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to acknowledge that all of this building our digital presence networking, strategically measuring impact, it can feel like a lot to take on, especially for those of us who are already juggling teaching, research, and, let's be honest, a life outside of academia.
You're absolutely right. It's important to approach this with a sense of balance and sustainability. Remember, it's not about doing everything at once. It's about starting small defenses, implementing one strategy at a time, and gradually building a system that works for you.
That's reassuring to hear.
Yeah.
So where should our listeners start? What's the first step on this journey to maximize their academic impact?
The most important first step is to really shift your mindset. Start thinking of your digital presence as an extension of your research, an integral part of your scholarly identity. Then choose one area that resonates with you. Maybe it's optimizing your ResearchGate profile, or experimenting with AI-powered networking tools, or exploring new ways to share your research with the public.
Okay, so one small step at a time, building momentum as we go. And remember those resources we mentioned earlier, like the upcoming Academic Digital Mastery series on guyobserved.online, can provide valuable guidance and support along the way.
Exactly. Academic Digital Mastery is designed to give you a step-by-step roadmap to mastering your digital presence. You'll learn practical strategies for crafting a compelling online narrative, building a network that amplifies your impact, and using AI tools to work smarter, not harder. We'll delve deeper into all the concepts we've discussed today, providing you with the tools and techniques you need to take your research to the next level.
It's like having a personal coach and a toolkit all rolled into one. That's amazing. I'm definitely signing up for that.
And as you start to see the positive results of your efforts, new collaborations, increased visibility, a growing sense of impact, you'll be motivated to keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the digital age of academia.
This has been such an inspiring conversation. It's clear that maximizing academic impact in today's world requires a new way of thinking, a new set of tools, and a willingness to embrace the power of the digital landscape.
You've got it. And remember, it's not just about advancing your own career, it's about making a real difference in the world. It's about ensuring that your research reaches the people who need it most, that it sparks new ideas, that it inspires action, and that it ultimately contributes to a better future for us all.
Now that's a mission I can get behind.
Oh.
But before we get too carried away with changing the world, let's move on to part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll explore the most important element of all you, the researcher. Because in the end, all these strategies and tools are just amplifiers. The true driving force is your passion, your expertise, and your unique perspective.
Join us next time as we delve into the power of the individual researcher and how you can harness your own unique strengths to make a lasting impact on the world.
We'll see you back here soon for the final part of our deep dive. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into maximizing your academic impact. We've covered a lot of ground, from building your digital presence to leveraging AI and mastering strategic networking. It's been quite a journey.
Yeah, definitely. We've explored how to amplify your research, measure your impact, and even build a system that can sustain your influence for years to come. It's pretty amazing what's possible now.
It really is. But now it's time to kind of bring it all back to the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
You.
The researcher.
Right.
Yeah.
You, the individual driven by curiosity, passion, and a desire to make a difference with your work. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Because all the strategies and tools we've discussed are just that. Tools, they can help, but they can't replace the human element.
They're amplifiers, catalysts.
Yeah.
But the true driving force is your unique perspective, your expertise, and your commitment to making a meaningful contribution to your field. You know what I mean? Yeah. Totally. I think it's easy to get caught up in the metrics and the platforms and the technology and forget that at the heart of it all is a human being with a story to tell and a desire to share their knowledge with the world.
Absolutely. Remember Dr. Elena Martinez, the quantum physicist we mentioned earlier? She transformed her research, which was highly technical, into a content cascade that reached policymakers and even inspired new technologies. That's huge.
And she didn't achieve that by simply following a formula or using some fancy AI tool.
Right. It was about more than that. She did it by tapping into her deep understanding of her field, her ability to translate complex concepts into these compelling narratives, and her unwavering belief in the power of her research to make a difference.
She brought her whole self to her work, her passion, her creativity, her human touch, and that's what made her research resonate with such a wide audience.
It's a great reminder that your authentic voice, your unique perspective, that's your most valuable asset. No AI can replicate that. Human connection is irreplaceable.
So how can we tap into that authenticity, that passion, and use it to fuel our digital presence and our impact? How do we bring that human element into the digital space?
Well, it starts with remembering why you got into research in the first place. What drives you? What questions are you trying to answer? What impact do you want to have on the world? Connect with that inner spark and let it guide your actions.
I love that. It's about bringing your heart and soul to your work, not just your intellect. And I think that authenticity will shine through in everything you do, whether you're writing a research summary, networking with colleagues, or sharing your insights on social media. It's about being genuine.
Exactly. And here's the exciting part. In this digital age, you have more power than ever before to reach your audience directly. You don't have to wait for gatekeepers to give you permission to share your work. You can build your own platform, create your own content, and connect with people all over the world who are interested in what you have to offer. It's pretty amazing.
That's incredibly empowering. It's like the playing field has been leveled, and anyone with a passion for their research and a willingness to embrace the digital landscape can make their voice heard.
Exactly. So what's holding you back? What's one small step you can take today to amplify your research, expand your network, and make your voice heard?
Maybe it's revisiting that research summary that's been gathering dust and injecting it with some of your personality and passion. Make it your own.
Yeah. Or maybe it's reaching out to a potential collaborator whose work you admire and just starting a conversation. You never know where it might lead.
Or maybe it's sharing a key insight from your research on social media in a way that's engaging and accessible to a wider audience. It's about making your work understandable and interesting to people outside of your specific field.
Exactly. Whatever it is, take that step. Break free from the confines of traditional academia and embrace the power of the digital landscape. It's time to make a change.
Because your research matters. Your voice deserves to be heard, and the world is waiting to be changed by your discoveries.
Well said. This has been such an inspiring journey. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of academic impact.
Absolutely. We hope you've gained valuable insights, practical strategies, and a renewed sense of purpose in your work. It's been great having you with us.
Remember, the future of research is in your hands. Embrace the power of the digital age, connect with your authentic voice, and make your mark on the world.
Keep exploring, keep creating, and keep making a difference. And don't forget to check out Academic Digital Mastery on guyobserved.online for a comprehensive guide to maximizing your research impact. It's launching next week, and we can't wait to share it with you. It's going to be amazing.
Until then, farewell from the deep dive.